So good evening, everyone. Reverend Dr. Michael McMorrow coming to you live from the sanctuary at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, California. That's the North San Fernando Valley. You know where that's at. Or right now it's in the back 40 of hell because it's hot here like everywhere else these days. But not here in the sanctuary, so it's a nice and cool 72 degrees, and you should be here, joining me and our friends here in the sanctuary tonight. Among them, Reverend Nancy Woods, our assistant minister and presider this evening. And I always forget to do this, so I want to give a shout out to the lads who are holding down the tech end this evening. That'd be Renzen and Evan on sound, Renzen on the camera. So thank you for what you guys do. Thank you for being with us tonight on the live stream, and thank you those in the sanctuary tonight. So let's just start by taking a deep breath as we bring down the lights in the house, and just feel the exhale and then the release of the day on the exhale. Let's take one more breath and really feel the release as we allow ourselves to anchor into this moment. One more deep breath and release. So as we settle ourselves, as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And as we know, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for all forms of Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course within our own hearts. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
trust in God. I surrender, I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender, I surrender. I trust in God.
Trusting in God. It is with a consciousness of gratitude that I join each and every one of you this evening, knowing that that infinite intelligence of life, that which brought forth everything, is what brought us together tonight. As we open our hearts and our minds to spend this time together, we open it to the idea and understanding that we are about embracing in a greater way the truth of our being, that the infinite presence of life that brought everything into expression is the essence of who and what we are. And knowing that is what our life journey is about, knowing that in many ways and through different understandings of life's experience, the revelation keeps unfolding. But knowing that this is an infinite journey is allowing us to accept and embrace this moment, this time, and this experience that we are stepping into this evening. Knowing that whatever unfolds is a blessing to our minds, our hearts, and our whole being. And as we enjoy the experience of being with each other and being able to embrace the wonder of this moment, we allow ourselves to let that heartfelt love flow forth into expression. And whether it comes through as a breath, a word, a thought, or a message that is being heard, whichever way it comes, we embrace the awareness of it, as we know that in this awareness comes the wondrous expression of creation for our own individualized expression of life. And all of this we rejoice in knowing and understanding and embracing as we join together in knowing this, as we say, and so it is. I think that every chance that I get to explore spirit, I'm beginning to find that it's a blessing in some way, in some form. And I have this group called Wise Women. We used to have it here, but we still keep in touch after 20 years of doing it together. And so the discussion going back and forth on us today, with us today, is this idea of self-forgiveness. And you know, self-forgiveness, I mean, we actually, and when we think about it in a deeply, self-forgiveness is the only forgiveness that there is. But we experience it in different forms, in different ways. And according to which consciousness is experiencing it, it unfolds. But the question that I threw into the group was, is there a such thing as an ultimate self-forgiveness? Or is it like everything else, a continuous unfoldment of being? We can forgive and we can embrace. And so I was really impressed with some of the definitions that came back, especially the one from Barbara when she was saying, when she feels like she's forgiven herself, she feels like she's releasing any sense of guilt, a judgment of the past, and embracing the idea that this moment is where she's beginning from. And she said also that it kind of frees her to be who she and what she really is, or what she believes she is at the moment, the current moment. And I thought that was such a sweet answer. That I really like the idea that everything is infinite in its development and including forgiveness. So I don't have to reach for this ultimate, I just have to reach for my clearest and most open awareness of it in the moment. And that would free me from what has gone before. And that seems like a nice definition for it. And I kind of like the idea. And I know I'm supposed to talk 5 minutes, but I'm not going to talk 5 minutes. So I'm telling you that. That's all I wanted to share. And thank you for letting me share that.
All right. Thank you.
I'm supposed to do some announcements. You can always find a practitioner to give you a treatment, whatever, if you find trouble getting over that forgiveness. Call somebody up and have them do a treatment for you to help you step into a greater level of it. The Sangha Hybrid is with Reverend Nicole is on Wednesday, July 26th, and that was started today. And she's recommended that they do it in person, so that'd be nice to get together again. Kathy, our animate ministry person, Reverend Kathy, is going to have a celebration of life for Mr. Orange, the cat. Oh, the sweet, loving cat that we all appreciated for so many years. And also, we're having a fall festival planning meeting on August the 6th, so we're going to have a chance to get together and just have fun. So if you want to participate in that group, they're going to get together on August the 6th, and it's a planning meeting for the festival itself. The Summer Kids Theater Group Camp with Jenny and Reverend Nicole. I think that the idea, I know that I invited the kids that I know that seem to have a lot of activity. I kept thinking, this is a good way to expend that energy. So if you know somebody from 8 to, I think 15, who you think would like it, sponsor them. Sponsor them and give their parents a break for a week.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. You may be a neighbor's kid that would like to come or something. So that is going to be August the 7th to the 11th, and it's a nice way to help kids learn how to express themselves more freely. And I thank you. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Rev. I'm still pondering your self-forgiveness stuff. I was thinking about an example when you get, crossed up with someone, or maybe, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but when I got into my 30s, I felt like I owed my parents an apology, right? Which was quite a revelation for me, because there's so much entitlement, that kids have with parents, which is kind of we build it into them, right? So on the one hand, it's kind of good that they feel entitled because, they know they can come to you, but at some point, like when they're 50 or 60, they really should stop doing that. No, no, but so anyway, I went to, and my parents were great, right? So there was this forgiveness thing, but then the real forgiveness work after that then was for myself for the things that I had done, because it involved money and and now when I look back on it now, it really wasn't that much money, but in the big scheme of things. But it was enough to feel some shame about. And this is the big freeing part about forgiveness work. You know, shame and guilt are, guilt being something that I've done, and then shame, of course, is something that I am. And this is the real heart killer. I don't want to say that, but it is kind of a soul crusher. I think maybe that's a better way of putting it. And it really, because it really keeps us from expressing our joy in the world in sometimes subtle ways, but also in really obvious ways. And so it's, I remember the first time that I heard about the self-forgiveness was the same. I had a similar reaction. I think sometimes we take for granted in metaphysical churches where we talk about oneness and how, we'll light flames of faith and we're speaking to the one power behind all religions and so forth. Most of the people on the planet who have any kind of religious belief, they don't think that way. They just don't, right? It's more the spiritual free thinkers. Many people are in religions because they're comfortable in their religion because it offers them a sense of certainty about the way they operate in the world. And then and then we gather, or maybe we grow up with, and like in my case, we grow up with people who think the same way. The reason, and I think there was good reason for that, because tonight I'm going to be speaking to Meister Eckhart in some of his poetry. And so he was right around the 1300s. Now, if you think back, dust off the cobwebs a little bit, what was going on in Europe at the time, right? It was still like the Holy Roman Empire, remember that? And the plagues were happening, and death. Children often didn't make it out of childbirth. Women often didn't make it out of childbirth. There was a lot of death and a lot of suffering. That as modern people, right, our suffering today is, I need more minutes on my cell plan, right? I didn't get enough data. Or, we have like these quality problems that are going on, most of us, thankfully, at least in our group. And we kind of lose touch of the fact that this idea that we're playing with, this notion that we are all one in the Spirit, is a relatively new idea in the West. And but there were Christian thinkers, and Jewish thinkers before that, who did understand that that when we spoke about the Holy Spirit, if you will, or even Elohim Adonai, that it wasn't a parental entity, but rather an energetic of love. I mean, they wouldn't have talked about it. That's more modern language again, right? Because it is, when we start to try and describe what this is, it's difficult to put into words, because each one of us is having our own unique experience, which is kind of the funny part about gathering in religions, when each person is having their own experience, and yet you have someone at the say, no, it says it means this, and you're supposed to think that way. Well, and then what happens if you don't, right? So, of course, the way we get around that one is to say, yeah, it's okay, whatever your experience is, which I think is a much more psychologically healthy approach. But I do appreciate ritualistic forgiveness, right? So you go in, you slide the screen back, bless me, Father, for I have sinned, right? I think there's value in having an examination of consciousness and how did I fall short, and so on and so forth. Particularly if we can do so from the place of understanding that we are not really the only person we are offending, if even we're doing that, is ourselves, and that we've let ourselves down for missing the mark. And so now we have this liberation, the potential for liberation in using spiritual mind treatment, because we know we can choose again. So it becomes imperative then that we practice this self-forgiveness, because that's the last shackle that's keeping us held bound to whatever condition in the world that we're wrestling with, that we're wanting to experience a sense of peace, harmony, understanding, joy, inspiration, right? And ultimately, underneath all that is we want to feel a sense of wholeness, completion maybe, and oneness. And but the monks, there were Christian monks who were figuring this stuff out, right? They don't get much credit, but they were, and nuns as well. And it's interesting that they were also kept under wraps, like Meister Eckhart was considered a heretic until the 1880s, right? And wasn't even recognized by his own order until into the 1900s. I forget which. I could look it up for you if you're interested. Where they now embrace him. 1980, the Dominican order has sought to reveal that Eckhart was an exemplary Christian mystic and priest. So it takes a while. I mean, Galileo, how long did it take, right? But he wrote things like this, and this is what got him in trouble, right? So he's looking out in the world, and he's seeing the spirit and the connection and the oneness of all of it. Is this not a holy trinity? The firmament, the earth, our bodies. And is it not an act of worship to hold a child and till the soil and lift a cup? Right? So he's taking these ordinary experiences. It's all divine. And communion. Check this one out. And communion, first seek that from your lover's soul before anything offered from a priest. You could see how that could get a guy in trouble. First seek that from your lover's soul before anything offered from a priest. Now that's right. So old JC himself said, go make things right with your brother first, right? So it's right in alignment, but it took 1,000 years for them to say, this guy wasn't so bad. So when we come to, our healing and revealing meditation, we have this opportunity to have whatever experience that we're going to have. But I've been enjoying sharing this poetry, particularly from this place of early thinkers sharing with us through their poetry, their own sense of oneness with life. And I appreciate that, So this is entitled, When I Was the Forest. When I was the forest. When I was the stream, when I was the forest, when I was still the field, when I was every hoof, foot, fin, and wing, when I was the sky itself, no one ever asked me Did I have a purpose? No one ever wondered, was there anything I might need? For there was nothing I could not love. It was when I left all we once were that the agony began. The fear and questions came, and I wept, and tears I had never known before. So I returned to the river. I returned to the mountains. I asked for their hand in marriage again. I begged to wed every object and creature. And when they accepted, God was ever present in my arms and did not say, "Where have you been?" For then I knew my soul, every soul, had always held him. That's some nice stuff there. You know, it calls us to really consider, this idea of the expression of the natural world that we, of course, experience as modern people, but to imagine it as if we were the first person ever. Like I imagine sometimes being in the valley, 10,000 years ago as the first humans were stumbling into the valley and what it must, just wondering what it was like. What did it smell like? What did it feel like, right? There was a different intelligence that we had there, right? That because we had what sustained us was just all around us, right? It's kind of a trippy thing to think of. So, so it kind of complicates modern living, where we lose this connection, and so we have to sit. And so we have to sit and to be still, where I suspect stillness was probably our natural state of being once we had enough to eat and if we weren't afraid of, predators or whatever, right? So maybe we can play around with that tonight, right? That, to imagine this consciousness that is experiencing life as itself, right? And that in this way we are some individualized expression of that. So in Buddhism, they talk about just bringing it back to self-forgiveness, and then we'll get going here. Sankhara. So I've always thought of it as that, we're in the stillness, and then there's this like effervescence of thought that comes up, right? So this old little thing comes up, this old little thing comes up, and then we get snagged by it, right? But if we can be still with it, stay focused on the breath and just observe it arising, and then, if we can just simply observe it, then that is that form of forgiveness. It's that same release that we get from that conscious act. And the Buddha, of course, in teaching Vipassana, in his day, that's the practice. Just do that. Okay, Sid. All right, so we'll just do that tonight. Let's just take a deep breath as we call up the Omen Bros. A lot of deepage around here tonight as we wade over to our seat, following the breath. And so let's just start by checking our seat, Allow us to get our any wiggles and jiggles out. All right. So let's just start by taking a deep, conscious breath together. And release. And on the release, we're bringing our attention to the movement of the breath in the nostril. Taking another deep breath and exhale. Focusing on the breath. Just scanning a gentle body scan from the feet up into the legs, to the knees, to the thighs. Just find any stress points that we just breathe into those and feel that stress unwind on the exhale. Bringing our attention to our sit bones. Relaxing even here, releasing any tension or holding, grasping. And the spine erect, but again free of tension, as the spine is balanced over the sit bones, the head balanced on the spine, focused on the breath. Releasing the tummy, breathing naturally, observing the rise and fall of the breath with the tummy. Into the hands, up the arms, shoulders. So let's take a deep breath together and just allow the shoulders to drop, maybe the neck to lengthen a bit. So taking a deep breath and release. to the face, allowing the face to drop. Bring our attention to above the eyebrows, the third eye, releasing the eyebrows, maybe even feeling some sensation here or in the crown of the head. We take a deep breath and release, focusing now on the exhale as we move now into the silence for about 15 minutes. attention gently back into the room, staying with the breath. As we breathe now into our heart center, where we imagine the flame of the divine dwells, so that with each in-breath we are fanning that flame, allowing it to expand, to grow, to glow into a ball of light in our very heart center. So as we stay with the breath, we feel this this ball of light now expanding with each in-breath, expanding and contracting in the way that we would inhale a balloon, so that with each in-breath it's expanding and just contracting a wee bit, expanding, contracting a wee bit. And this light, this divine fire within, a light that radiates, illuminates rather than consumes, that we feel its energetic extending now beyond the body, torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom, that we're now sitting in this globe, this field of light, this field, this fire of love. Staying with the breath, now extending, filling the room in which we sit here in the sanctuary, knowing that this very sanctuary now is filled, is expressing as a field of light and love, that this energetic of light and love fills the very room, extending now beyond time and space, connecting with our friends online as well. For those online, connecting with those of us here in the room, connected with this field of light and love. And so from this place of conscious unity with this light, with this love, we bring forth now our own cares, concerns, intentions, aspirations. And we take a deep breath, that we cast that loose now, set it free into this field of light and love, as we know together that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence. It is the creative impulse of life itself. That with each in-breath we are fortifying the biological body at the deepest and smallest aspects, so that every atom, every molecule, every cell, every organ, every muscle, every bone, every sinew, all the various components and systems of the biologic body is aligning with this infinite power and presence of love itself, as it attunes to the indwelling pattern of perfection, that we feel the body lightening and attuning and getting a sense of strength, of flexibility within it. And we take a deep breath and release. And we know further that in that release now we are opening our mind to new and creative, dynamic ideas for any situation. Any sense of confusion is now replaced with clarity, as we are opening ourselves up, being open at the top to a divine impulse of creativity, allowing the creative impulse of this living intelligence to infuse within us. the right solution to any seeming problem or challenge that may have us confused, stirred up, locked up in any way, that we take a deep breath and feel the release of all of that as we accept the clarity of thought in its wake. That we know further for our relationships now, that from this place of open-heartedness and an expanded awareness of the love of the universe expressing in, through, and as each one of us, that we are knowing this truth for all beings. And so for our relationships, whether on the job, in the home, in the community, in the global community, that there are intuitive ways to make the crooked ways straight, that we easily find our way to each other in ways that easily express respect, understanding, peace, harmony, and a deep, abiding love that passeth understanding. That we take a deep breath, release that. And so for this word, and again, for any cares, concerns, inspirations, aspirations, we're just releasing all of it now to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself. Mind that knows only to say yes in its receptivity. Yes, my beloved, yes, in you I am well pleased. And so we feel a sense of confidence as we, from a place of gratitude for the many blessings in our life, we just release all of it now with deep gratitude and confidence, knowing it is done, knowing it is so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So, next Tuesday night is the Spiritual Unity Movement Full Moon meditation, and it will be a drum meditation. So we've had Burl Bowler Jack, so he will be leading that. And you don't have to bring it. They have drums, or we have buckets. And so if you're looking for a different kind of meditation experience, that's going to be happening right here next Tuesday. And for those of you joining us online, if you subscribed to our Constant Contact, our e-letter, our newsletter, scroll down in there, you'll find the link that'll take you right to the Spiritual Unity Movement. That's next Tuesday. I think they get going at 6:55. They get online about 5 minutes till. So you can look forward to that. And I also want to give a plug to Dr. Maureen's. She's got a workshop on Saturday, August 6th. Is it the 6th? It's unconscious invitation, releasing old ways of thinking that get in the way of our greatest good, which that's not what it says, but that's basically what you'll be doing. Anyway, it's a workshop she's been cooking up for a while. And so if you're looking to release some stuff, join her. So until then, thank you for joining me here in the sanctuary. Nice to see everybody. Thank you, Reverend Nancy, for kicking us off so nicely. And the lads in the back, and those of you joining us at home, for all of you know that you are loved. Peace and blessings, and I will see you next time.